What are the implications of changing the historical record, and why are the authorities seeming to want to keep the storyline going as it is?
You know, it's one of those strange things that once the consensus, when you say the authorities, we're mostly talking about, in this case, Egyptologists and archaeologists, Egyptian that study ancient Egypt, and various others that are associated to the study of ancient Egypt. Once the consensus has been established, it's something very, very difficult to remove it. But that's the way things go. I mean, every major paradigm shift has been confronted with tremendous opposition. But it's a chess game, and slowly, as we move the pieces, if you like, of information and evidence, we're beginning to corner the establishment into a checkmate. There is too much evidence now that will force them to concede that we're dealing with a much older phase in human origins. Until you force them, until you bring them to a checkmate, they will resist. But I've been at it for the last 30 years, and with the Orion correlation, I'm that close. I mean, the Orion correlation, like I said, was recently put under the grill by a university in Italy, and they were unable to falsify it. So that's the way science goes. The theory is proposed with evidence, and it has to be either falsified or not. And if it isn't, then it has to be accepted as a valid theory. And this is what I'm trying to force the Egyptologists into this corner, that they have to really get into this, because they've been ignoring it or opposing it arbitrarily for too long. If I'm correct, and I'm very convinced I am, then this is a very important step. And of course, we're not just pushing the pedigree, the origins of civilization to thousands of years before. But the big question is that the civilization that seems to have been prevalent at that time seems to have been very advanced. They seem to have had, in my opinion, a very advanced system of knowledge without technology, or able to achieve tremendous feats like building pyramids and carving the Sphinx and building the temple at Göbekli Tepe and other places like the famous monoliths in Lebanon, which I've recently seen, using a different kind of energy. It's the only way I can put it at this stage. I don't want to start speculating wildly as to what this energy might have been, or this force they're using. But there's no doubt in my mind that something needs to be understood here. And this brings me again to our modern physicists stumbling over the last 50 years on quantum mechanics, because we're beginning to realize that we're dealing with a universe that is totally behaving outside our day-to-day common sense. But maybe the ancients understood it in a different form. Maybe they understood it through their own internal abilities, which we still possess, but we're so determined to use external sources. We're so determined to use technology rather than our own mind that we've lost that ability. And maybe that's, in my opinion, why it's so important to understand what the ancients were doing, because through this understanding we may understand how to use our personal abilities in a much more powerful way. So again, in a nutshell, I'll be discussing all these points in much more greater details when I'm in Sedona.